Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Lane Yappers. I'm Mox.
I'm Rosie, and we are recapping Brazil and going through Vegas.
Brazil is going to be really, really quick because,
We have schedule conflicts.
we both work in customer service, so it's the holiday season, if you understand our gist. Anyways,
We've been slaving away at our minimum wage jobs.
so Brazil, nothing really happened other than Franco really got the announcement. He's resigning with Alpine.
Yay!
It was also a sprint qualifying. Do you know who was in the Aston Martin garage? Sebastian Vettel! Because he was there that weekend for some forestation project. He had all the drivers drawing trees. Thank God none of them are professional.
I'm not sure if any of them have seen a tree before.
Yeah, thank God none of them are professional artists, because
a tree's not that hard to draw, I'll be honest.
Yeah. So the sprint also really didn't bring that much chaos. Well, actually, Oscar Piastri DNF'd on lap 6 of the sprint. So did Nico Hülkenberg and Franco Colapinto. Welcome back to Alpine, Franco Colapinto. Here's your gift, a DNF. Which was the last thing Oscar needed for that weekend.
Anyway.
And then there was a red flag because there were 3 cars in the gravel.
McLaren, I'm in your walls.
Also, on lap 9 of the sprint, Fernando and Max were really going at it constantly. And they asked Fernando, because in the post-race, the post-sprint, I guess, like, why were you not really fighting Max? We could tell you weren't, like, doing your best. And he said, I didn't want contact, especially with Max, because he's fighting for the championship. He said, I know my choice.
He might not be wrong.
And then nothing else happened until lap 24, which was basically the final lap. Gabriel Bortoleto crashed. That was the scariest crash I have seen in a while.
It was bad.
It was bad.
Loud.
And I think the fact that he was able to get out of the car and walk away, probably not fully fine, but not alive. Dead and not, like,
alive and walking,
injured for the rest of his life, really goes to show how much the engineering has come
along.
But Lando Norris won the sprint. Kimi Antonelli was P2 and George Russell was P3. It was a good weekend. And then qualifying happened. Nothing really happened besides Max Verstappen was out in Q1. We were in P17, baby. I was like, oh, we're screwed.
We were not screwed.
Come back. Max also started from the pit lane.
And he finished.
Nothing really happened other than Max Verstappen was on a wild goose chase. He was crazy, he was insane, and he was on the podium. He went from P20 to P3. Lando did win with Kimi Antonelli P2, which is crazy. But Max Verstappen was the star of the show. He was my winner for Brazil. Just clarifying.
Wow. I don't think there was anyone else, really.
My loser was Oscar, because he is now second in the championship.
Well, yes. Third,
also,
if you're
we need... Yep. No, Max and him are tied.
I might just shoot myself.
But that brings us to Vegas. All right. There were a lot of special liveries. Williams Alpine V Carb Sauber.
Do I understand the need for a special livery Vegas? No.
No. But they do always like kill it with the liveries.
State, yeah, because they are the gambling team. Whatever. Makes sense.
Everyone else, no.
No.
Also, Red Bull brought back their dark blue and white race suits. Also, the special helmets kind of came to play. Speaking of
Lewis is
special,
8.
yeah. I will say he released it and I was like, is that not going to blind other drivers? But don't worry, he started P20, so it wasn't really an issue for him that much. Also, did I lie? Did I lie?
First Ferrari
but
driver
it was...
to qualify P20 since 2009.
Yep. But also a thing to note about Vegas is it was downpouring. Like the strip was flooded the day before the race. Okay? Like when I say flooded, I mean no cars could be on it. Flooded. Like I was like, oh, they're gonna have to bring out the freaking boats, aren't they? But that takes us into FP. We take the FP1. That I meant what? That wasn't English. That takes us into FP1.
It's been a long week, guys.
It's been a long week. I was up till 1:30 in the morning, okay? Can I just say, I didn't really understand the Racing Bulls livery. I was like, okay, it's hollow, fine, whatever. Until they were on the track. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. They also, what you just said about the special liveries and the special helmets, the commentators on F1 TV were like, yeah, why are there so many special helmets and liveries for Vegas? This has gotten way too serious. Like, it's not that important of a race. And then they brought up about how Sebastian Vettel in 2010 had a special helmet for almost every single race of the season. At that point, just change it every race. Like,
well, there are some drivers that don't really do like special helmets. Like,
Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, Alonso. Oscar doesn't particularly. He does for Australia.
Max
so
doesn't.
Yeah.
Max doesn't even do it for the Dutch Grand Prix. That's his home race, and he's like, no.
I think it's kind of extra cunty for Oscar to do it though, because it's the first race of the season as well.
Yeah. He's like, so this is my helmet. Anyways, I'm going to have a special livery. A special helmet for the first race of the season. You won't even see it on track yet. Okay. But FP1, Liam Lawson, I guess it had rained right before FP1. Liam Lawson came onto the radio and he goes, so it's kind of slippery out here. Like, he isn't driving super fast. Like, he was just so casual with saying, it's kind of slippery. Like,
just slow down.
Also in FP1, McLaren was running 2 different specs. Lando Norris was using the Monza rear wing, while Oscar Piastri had a cut rear wing, which was basically what Red Bull did in one of, I think, Singapore, where they just like literally were like, we brought the wrong wing. We're just gonna cut into it.
Yeah, but Red Bull cutting into their wing on the grid. So
yeah, McLaren did it beforehand. This was should we make it like this for the rest of the race? Also, Alex Albon went over a bump. Like, it wasn't even that bump. You know how like on roads there's like just like a little bit of an uneven? No. It was just an uneven surface, and his bodywork started flying off.
Well, it is a Williams.
And then he came into the pit, and there was an issue, and nobody could figure out. But literally, every single person in Williams was in his garage, which means it was just bad. I think that was it until
Yeah, I've just got lots of people with running wide in practice, like,
yeah,
you
I
know,
think that was
going
really
deep into
it.
corners and running wide, like fairly boring practice.
Yeah.
But
I will say Fernando Alonso only ran on the softs while Nico Hulkenberg was only running the hard tires while everybody else was on mediums because they were built different.
green cars,
Um, but yeah, 18 minutes to go. There was a yellow flag. Nobody knows why, but it was on there for a while. But like nobody was stagnant or like in the middle of the road stuck. So nobody knows why. But Charles Leclerc was P1. Alex Albon was P2, and Yuki Tsunoda was P3. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a really good race for Yuki.
yeah. Well,
I should have
look,
just kept my mouth shut.
I take these Ferrari P1s in practice. That shit is so good. That's the only
Me
Ferrari
when Alonso
P1
was P3.
It's the only Ferrari P1 I've seen all year, and it's always in practice.
What's that? Something to take the edge off.
Yeah. Next
um,
year's our year, guys. Don't worry.
so that takes us into FP2, where it rained between sessions once again. Also, this is the time where I noticed Oscar Piastri's helmet was kind of giving Alpine.
Well, his season's going that way, so
Yeah. But FP2 was the race, the session of patience because nobody went out for about 10 minutes
yeah.
because nobody wanted to risk
Why?
it, which makes sense. But at the same time,
Why
like
am
everybody was saying this is when you want to risk it because you have enough time to fix the car for the race.
why am I paying my subscription to watch TV for you guys not to do anything?
Exactly.
Hello.
um but once they got going, everybody went out. So Ollie Behrman was really the first one on track, and then everybody was like, okay, if a Haas can do it, we can do it too. But this is when Mercedes looked like they had it figured out, which is expected. It's Vegas. Mercedes, for some reason, have always been good on Vegas. Nobody can really explain why. And I was like, okay, maybe Merc will win. And then the McLarens came out.
um. Well, anyway.
Also, this is also the session where I was like, oh, Racing Bulls really doesn't know what they're doing because Isaac Hadjar, um, he locked up in a corner and his engineer came on the radio and he goes, okay, did you brake late? And Isaac Hadjar was like, no, I don't know why I locked up. And they go, okay, we didn't think you broke late. So why did he say? And to this day, I still don't know why he locked up, but okay. And then 21 minutes to go is when the red flag came out. A manhole cover was exposed.
For those of you who have not been following particularly, like just during this year or last year,
That's
the
common in
manhole
Vegas now.
cover has been a problem every single year. In fact, the
Year
first
one,
year,
Carlos almost got his back broken because of it.
Yeah.
Two, I think Lewis or George ran over it, but it wasn't that big of a deal. But then they didn't know they ran over it, and then
it was an issue in F2 as well, I believe. I might have made that up.
Yeah.
And then
this year man cover. I don't even know. Nobody went over it, and it was a red flag, and everyone was like, "Wait, there's a red flag. What is this red flag for?" Nobody knew. So I think it was Julian Palmer who was like, "Oh, maybe somebody hit the wall and they're not showing it because there's no response." And then they showed the marshals over a man cover, and they went, "Never mind, it was a manhole." I propose Vegas gets taken off the calendar. That's all I'm saying. But that was
How we might
no.
lose Spa, but Vegas can stay.
Yeah. Money. So 5 minutes left, they went green just because they wanted one more lap in. They were like, let's just let him get one more lap in. Charles Leclerc comes out, middle of nowhere on the freeway. He pulls off into the pull-off, and he's on the freaking highway, and he's like, so something's broken in my gearbox. Can I change shifts? Can I change my gears? And Brian said, don't do that. No. Yeah. And then they turned off the engine, and that was it for Charles Leclerc. It brought out another red flag. So Lando Norris was P1, Kimi Antonelli was P2, and Charles Leclerc was P3 because he was doing pretty well before then.
My goat goes through treachery and horrors not never before seen.
But that takes us into the next day.
He's been drowned. He's had gearbox issues. He's been drowned.
He's been burnt.
He's been burnt. He's had no water.
He's been taken out by a child twice.
So
that takes us into FP3. This is when the rain came.
And the rain came tumbling down.
F1 Academy actually raced before that, and it was a chaotic nightmare of a race.
By the way, we need congratulations to Doreen.
Dorian Payne. Fun.
Which,
by the way, Mercedes actually treats her like a driver, unlike every other driver in F1 Academy. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations to Mercedes. Congratulations to Doreen on being F1 Academy champion.
Also, can I also say that Dorian literally scored points in every single F1 Academy race that she raced in. So for 2 years straight in F1 Academy.
Yeah, that is goat behavior.
Has gotten points.
I don't understand why she isn't a Mercedes reserve.
She might be next year. Iron Dames is like not racing in any series anymore, so she might be free. But Dorian, do not let them put you in the simulator for long hours.
Do not become Fred Bestie. Poor man.
But anyways, basically it had rained. It was still like literally it was downpouring rain minutes before they had to go on the track. They got on the track. Everybody is on wet tires. Intermediate. Everyone was like, it's still too wet for slicks. It's not wet enough for wet tires. So yeah. You want to know who wasn't on inters though?
Alonso?
Fernando freaking Alonso. Everyone was like, this is miserable. I don't want to drive here. And Fernando Alonso's like, it was good. Let's go. Yeah, he was on slicks, by the way. He wasn't on hards. He was on mediums. He was on slicks. That man has a death wish. But he immediately went back in for inters because he was sliding all over the place. He probably was told to come in for inters, though. He probably would have stayed out. However, it was drying up, and I think it was Ruth who was like, they should be going on slicks soon, and nobody wanted to take that risk because it was right before qualifying, and if they hit the barrier super hard, they might not be able to qualify. And so nobody really wanted to do it. And they were like, somebody on the back of the grid that knows they're going to be on the back of the grid is going to go on slicks. It's fine. They were talking about it. While that was happening, Yuki Tsunoda was radioed saying, hey, you need to box right now. There's an issue with the car. Box right now.
Yeah. We've had a few of those urgent radios this year.
Yeah. And then, what the hell was that? Oh. It sounded like somebody fell. I was like, are you not going to go check on those people?
Mind you, I did fall down the stairs the other week. I'm completely and utterly. But I was on
Oh,
Halloween, so I was dressed as the Cheshire Cat as well.
oh
I was
God.
like decked it.
Oh, um, where were we? Oh, 31 minutes to go. Lando Norris was the first person on slicks, which is the last person that they were expecting to go on slicks first because he had everything to lose. He's leading the champion. He's leading the championship. Max is pretty good at Vegas, and McLarens are not good at Vegas. Like, they just don't have the straight line speed. So everyone's like, wait a minute, he's the one who went on slicks? Nothing happened. He didn't crash or anything. He was sliding everywhere, but he did make it around. However, Bono was kind of savage on the radio to Kimmy. He was like, so Norris went on softs. They look a mile off. I think if I heard Bono tell his driver that I was a mile off on slicks, I think I would just come back to the garage and retire.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Bono.
Yeah. And then after this, Max Verstappen was on fire. This is when I was like, oh my gosh, wait, Max Verstappen kind of
I would rather take Max Verstappen 5 than Norris 1.
But Max was not P1. George Russell was P1 at the end of the session, and then Max was P2. Then Alex Albon was P3.
Dream pair for George.
Yeah. Which takes us into quali, which had rain in Q1. And last time it rained, which was FP3, the Astons were pretty fast. So Lando Norris was one of the first people to go out, and his radio, he goes, hey, can you keep an eye on the Astons? They may be fast. Guys, I used to pray for times like this. What do you mean they may be fast?
As long as you and Norris are delusional, it's fine.
Fernando was pretty freaking fast, though. Also, this is when I noticed the sphere, once again, was watching all the cars driving underneath it. It was going... He was so cute. I was like, how do I get one?
I do feel slightly parasocial with the Vegas sphere.
Me too.
No reason.
But the spray from how much rain fell was brutal. I don't know how anyone was able to see.
It was like watching a silver qualifying.
Yeah.
But
it was
in the desert.
Mind you, if anybody isn't from America, Las Vegas doesn't get rain. Period. This is the most rainfall they've had in the past 4 years combined. Like, this rain was abysmal.
Climate change.
Everybody was going off. Likely. Also, because of this, Red Bull didn't send Max out because Max was in the championship, and if he lost by 9 points from Lando, he'd be done. Gone. Out of the championship fight. However, Ferrari also didn't send Charles out for so long, and I was like, okay, what is there to lose? No offense. What is there to lose?
His gearbox.
That he already lost. So they literally didn't set a time for so long. And then I was like, okay, where's Yuki? Yuki was not doing great, but Yuki hates Vegas. He said it before. He hates the track. He wants it gone. So I was expecting Yuki to just not have a good race. However, P19, I was not expecting to see Hamilton
hate Vegas.
Well, listen, I think they all hate Vegas to the core. However, I think they like the spectacle of it. They just wish they weren't part of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but...
Charles does fairly well in Vegas.
I think Max loves Vegas just because somehow he always does really well.
He does well because
Um,
Charles does well.
but yeah, Hamilton was at P19.
But not for long. It gets
Um,
worse.
and then he went on a flying lap that probably would have rescued him. However, Alex Albon hit the wall and his tire was completely off. He broke the suspension. And Hamilton got out because a yellow flag where he couldn't improve. So Hamilton was P20. Then it was Yuki Tsunoda, Gabriel Bortoleto, Kimi Antonelli, and Alex Albon. Basically,
It says
Lewis
a lot
Hamilton
about
post quali literally said he wanted to kill himself. So couldn't get worse. Life, you know that meme, like life could be worse. Actually, no, it couldn't. That's Lewis Hamilton.
There was an all-timer graphic dropped, I will say. It was like Lewis and in big letters. So I was like, I'm not going to kill myself or anything.
But yeah, so that takes us to Q2. The start was delayed because of the rain. Guys, this was at like midnight. I was like, could we not just get on with it, please? It was like 30 minutes delayed. I wanted to sob.
I was fast asleep.
I was not.
Because it was 5 a.m.
Yep. But everybody kind of was going P1 that I wasn't expecting. For example, Carlos Sainz, Liam Lawson, Lance Stroll, Pierre Gasly.
Well, the McLaren
Fernando
said,
Alonso.
let everybody else have a turn.
But 1 minute to go, Oscar Piastri was in the danger zone. He was literally just above the elimination zone. He didn't get out, but it was really, yeah, it was bad. But Oscar Piastri did not get out. It was Colapinto, Behrman, Ocon, Stroll, and Hulkenberg. And this is also when Lawson was noted for a yellow flag infringement. I don't think he got reprimanded for it. They never mentioned it again, so I think it was fine. But that takes us into Q3. That was the craziest Q3 of my life. AKA I fell asleep midway. Lando Norris got pole, Max Verstappen was P2, and George Russell was P3. All I have to say is Lando Norris on pole with Max Verstappen behind him when Max Verstappen said, yeah, I'm going to go for it. I mean, I have nothing to lose. Lando Norris should have been terrified.
Oh, yeah.
And he
what
was,
did Oscar
probably.
Say? We all know what Oscar said, so.
Anyways, that takes us into the race. This is when we found out Yuki Tsunoda is starting from the pit lane because he needed a new PU unit. This is his sixth of the season.
Which would explain his quali and his practice.
Also, this is when it came out that two teams have been caught cheating. They heated their tires to over 70 degrees Celsius in FP3. And I thought that was going to be the only cheating scandal that happened in Vegas. We were sorely mistaken after the race, but we will get there. So let's go into lap 1. Lap 1 was the craziest moment of my life. I don't know what that man was trying to do, but he didn't succeed. Lando Norris.
What were you doing?
I think he was trying to be Max Verstappen, but didn't understand how much control Max Verstappen has on a car.
I think
as DC said,
just doesn't understand that Max is insane.
Yeah, as DC said, he tried to play Max's game. He just didn't know the rules. And then Max Verstappen was P1.
Well, that is the other thing about Max. He does know the rule book and the guidelines better than I'd say the only person on par with him would be George.
And now Carlos. Because I think Carlos has been summoned to the stewards enough where he's like, give me the freaking book, I need to read it.
But George and Max are both, they're as petty as each other with the rules.
Yeah. Also, while that was going on, Bortoleto turned into Stroll, who then actually didn't even turn into him. He just slammed into Stroll, who then hit Lawson, who then went into Oscar Piastri. While Lando Norris was going off in turn 1 and Max Verstappen took the lead, so I didn't even notice until lap 2, where Oscar Piastri, Liam Lawson, Gabriel Bortoleto, and Lance Stroll got noted. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And then
what did Oscar do, bro?
I look at the timing, and it says Stroll out. I was like, wait a minute, what? He DNF'd? What happened? And then I found out that's what happened. But that whole reason is what brought out the virtual safety car for just a lap. And I believe Lawson went in because his front wing was damaged, but don't quote me on that. In one lap, the virtual safety car was in. And then the next lap, Bortoleto was in the pit, DNFing. I was like, okay.
Crashing to Stroll. Big Stroll DNF, and then DNF yourself.
And then a few laps later, so lap 8, it was announced that Liam Lawson and Oscar Piastri had no further action. And then Stroll and Bortoleto were going to be investigated after the race. And then lap 9 is when Antonelli was noted for moving before the signal, which means a false start, which it was very clearly seen on the aerial footage, and everyone's like, he's getting a penalty for that. While Antonelli was being noted, Charles Leclerc, I don't know what got into him, but he came onto the radio randomly, and he's like, so I'm pushing like an animal. Charles said, I got that dog in me for real.
The dog is Leo.
And then the next lap, Hajar came onto the radio and he's like, let's be aggressive here, guys. I want to be aggressive. And his engineer was like, yeah, we're checking. But if we pit now, you're going to go out into traffic. We're following one person. They were not aggressive. But basically, Hajar was basically asking, can I pit to overtake? I want to pit to undercut and overtake some of these slower cars. And while that was going on, Charles Leclerc somehow caught up to Oscar Piastri, and Antonelli was up to like P5. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. Antonelli was like P17. How did he get this far up? He like went up 13 places in lap 1, which is why I was like, wait a minute. This is impressive. And then it came out that he
false start.
Jumped the start. Lap 14, though, is when George Russell came onto the radio and said, hey, the steering's an issue again. This is also when Alex Albon pit for a second time to fix his front wing because he had damage with Lewis Hamilton. Guess what? They didn't fix his front wing. You want to know why? Because there was no radio on Alex Albon's car. So he was manically pointing to the front wing saying, I hit it. They didn't see it. They changed his tires. And then the next lap, they were like, oh, shoot. So he had to pit again. And while that was going on, it was announced that Kimi Antonelli got a 5-second penalty.
Yeah, which is standard for jumping the start, so...
Yeah. And then the next lap, lap 16, it was a virtual safety car and a yellow flag because the debris from Alex Albon was found to be in the middle of the track. And this was also when Alex Albon and Hamilton were noted to be under investigation for causing a collision.
I have to say, it just popped into my head. Don't you think, like, it must be so embarrassing when you've got a special livery and a special helmet and you're normally somebody who does so well and then you just don't?
Yeah.
Like, so
mind you, neither of those have been doing very well, so, sorry.
Yeah, but it's Lewis Hamilton, you know?
Yeah, I know. Well, Hamilton was actually innocent in that. Like, Alex Albon was behind him trying to pass him, and his front wing just clipped his tire. So it was Alex Albon's fault.
He did get a penalty for.
Yeah, lap 18 is when George Russell, who was in P2, pit. It was a 2.2 second pit stop. And this is when Will Joseph came onto the radio to Lando Norris, and he's like, okay, we can pick up the pace. And Lando's like, yeah, I know, I am. I was like, God forbid they're relaying information. To be honest, I would be just as annoyed if they kept talking to me, being like, hey, so can you pick up the pace? I'm like, I'm trying. Can you not tell I'm trying? Like,
Shut up. Okay.
You shut up. Lap 19, Alex Albon was noted again for a starting infringement, whatever that meant. He was reprimanded. He didn't get a penalty. However, the next lap he did get a penalty for causing a collision. It was a 5-second penalty. And then we go on to lap 22 where Oscar Piastri was pit. It was a 2.7-second pit stop. And then the lap after is when Lando Norris came in, and it was a 2.5-second pit stop. And this was also the next lap Sainz pit to respond to Piastri's pit stop because they were fighting, shockingly. And I just almost said Alex Piastri. Oscar Piastri got past Sainz in the pit. And so Oscar Piastri got above a Williams. A McLaren passed a Williams in the pit lane because he couldn't do it on the track.
The only thing I have to say about this is that every single driver has said, yeah, I have no idea what's happened to Oscar's performance. Very strange.
But then the same lap, Norris came onto the radio after he pit and was like, so am I doing my own race or moving forward? Which I was like, what the heck does he mean? You're both. You're doing your own race and you're moving forward. What are you talking about? I now understand it. He was basically asking, am I saving my tires for later or can I overtake and push? And he said, Will Joseph was like, we're doing your own race. Which meant he was not going to try to catch Max. He was going to try to get George. And then a few laps later, Max Verstappen was about 15 or 16 seconds in the lead. No, I think he was 22 seconds in the lead. He pit, and the time lost... Hi, Emmy. The time lost in the pit lane was 20 seconds. And George was like 21 seconds behind Max at that time. And so they were like, Red Bull really needs to get this pit stop right. It was a 3-second pit stop. But he maintained the lead, so...
Don't need that.
A few laps later, lap 30, Hamilton pit, and so his out lap, so the next lap, 31, Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton were fighting, and I was like, oh my gosh, real fighting. Thank God. They were fighting for P10.
Yeah, but to those two, that's basically the same as a championship.
And then a few laps later, lap 33, is when Norris was like, I don't know if he was pushing or he just kind of got better on the track because the grip was getting better. But he was catching up to George, who also had nursing that steering problem. And George Russell came onto the radio and he goes, listen, I'm going to try to defend from Norris, but I'm not going to try my hardest. I'm not going to risk anything for it. And he meant that. Because the next lap, Lando Norris overtook George Russell, and Will Joseph came onto the radio and he goes, go get Max. And 2 laps later, GP came onto the radio and he goes, okay, Max, Lando overtook Russell, and he was told to go and get you. And Max just said, okay, pressed on the pedal and sped up. And then lap 37 is when Alex Albon officially DNF'd because he had no radio the entire race.
I say Charles goes through the horrors, but Alex is right there with him.
Can I just say, how is that safe? How did Williams not get a fine for not having a radio? I feel like that is a big issue.
No,
it's not
is.
Alex Albon's fault. I feel like that's a team issue.
And it's because Carlos had the same... He had a temporary radio problem a few races ago. So... Yeah. But props to Alex for, he did quite well with no radio.
Yeah. And then the next few laps, they kind of forgot about Lando Norris for a little bit. They were showing Oscar because he was struggling to pass Kimi Antonelli.
Blah, blah, blah. The Mercedes is good here. We know this. Yes.
And then we were going back and forth between McLarens. So they were showing Antonelli, Oscar, Charles. And then they go back to Lando trying to catch Max, which he couldn't. He was not able to catch Max. And lap 45, so right before, 5 laps before, is when Jillian Palmer went, I think what Antonelli might be doing is protecting George. Because George had the steering issue. He wasn't driving very, well in the sense of how he could if he had proper steering. And Kimi Antonelli was not, trying to go faster or slower. He was kind of matching George's pace, which is why they thought maybe he was possibly protecting George. And then 2 laps later is when Lando Norris had a issue. He ran out of gas.
Yeah, he was Asalico.
And that was not, by the way, a saying. I meant he actually ran out of fuel.
McLaren,
mind you, these are the constructors' winners.
If you're gonna favour a driver so blatantly after your other driver was leading the championship for so long, at least put enough fuel in his car.
Mind you, there have been virtual safety cars, so he was slower and used less fuel than predicted for the race, and he still ran out of fuel. But don't worry, that is the least of Lando Norris and McLaren's problems, because Max Verstappen won. Lando was P2 and George was P3. They did the podium. They did post-race interviews. They drove in a little pink Lego Cadillac, which was the funniest thing ever because Terry Crews was their driver. And Max was like, we really need music. And Terry Crews goes, I've got you. Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces fast. Also, Lando looked miserable. He looked freezing, he looked tired, and he looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Which honestly, at that time of the night, me too. Me too. I just wanted to be in bed. So I shut it off. And I woke up to not just one, but both McLarens being disqualified because their floor plank was too thin.
It's so over.
This means Max Verstappen now has a 42...
Oscar?
Max Verstappen has a 42-point gap between him and Lando Norris. And let me tell you, before the Dutch Grand Prix, Lando Norris was above Lando, and there was a 104-point gap between him and Max Verstappen. Las Vegas Grand Prix, they are now on equal points, 366 each. I really didn't think Max Verstappen was going to be here, and yet here we are.
Win or do something.
Max Verstappen, you rock my world. So that was Vegas.
With two rounds left, it is noted that Oscar will not be taking part in Abu Dhabi Practice 1.
Don't worry, it's Qatar next, which Oscar is
the
historically
race.
Better than Lando Norris. Historically.
That sprint.
Do you know who's best on Qatar?
Well, rookie Oscar Piastri.
Dun, dun, dun.
That sprint race is like a core memory for me. I remember the post-race interview so vividly.
The amount of edits I got of Oscar Piastri after that was insane. Anyways, that was Vegas. Who were your winners? Your winner and who was your loser?
Well, winner was Max.
Real.
My loser was everybody else.
I have a list. How long do you have? I have a list. How long do you have?
My loser is probably Lewis and Alex. Because Alex was doing well in practice.
I really thought he was going to get points.
Yeah.
And then he had no radio.
No radio. Lewis, first Ferrari driver to qualify last since 2009. I think that says it all, really. But we go again next year.
I like how you don't even say we go again in Qatar. We go again next year. Next March.
We go again in 2027.
But yeah, my winner is, well, okay, Max obviously, but my second winner would probably be Kimi Antonelli because he was P17, finished P4, and then because of the disqualification, got a podium. So he was P3 after that. So he would be my winner with Max, but like obviously Max was our winner. And then my loser would be McLaren because that's embarrassing. You've won the Constructors' Championship and you have the two drivers that are leading the championship, and you got disqualified because you cheated.
On two fronts. And you didn't put enough fuel in Norris's car anyway.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
I would expect a Lyco radio message to come from.
And listen, I would expect this from Ferrari. Sorry, I would expect this from Ferrari, not McLaren. Ferrari 2019 had an illegal engine. Was expecting them to be cheaters. And not enough fuel.
Care.
Also,
bring back the illegal engine.
Ferrari.
Bring it back.
I posted on TikTok. I was like, we have cheaters in our midst. There are two teams. And everyone goes, it's definitely Ferrari because, of course, Ferrari would cheat and it wouldn't work.
I mean, true, but...
But anyways, that was Vegas. We go again this next week for Qatar. Thank God it's at a normal hour. It's at 11 a.m. instead of 11 p.m.
That means it is at like 4 o'clock for me.
That's a normal time.
Yeah.
Anyways, we will see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.